In today's lesson, we are going to be multiplying fractions. The I can statement is I can multiply both positive and negative fractions. So previously you have learned how to multiply positive fractions together. Again, in this lesson, we are going to be looking at negative fractions as well. So we will need to recall the multiplication rules so that we can multiply positive and negative fractions. So our multiplication rules are a positive times a positive is equal to a positive. You've seen that before. A negative times a negative is equal to a positive. A positive times negative is equal to a negative. And a negative times a positive is equal to a negative. All right, let's look at the steps to multiply fractions. So step 1, you are going to break down each number into its prime factors and cancel pairs of identical factors in the numerator and denominator. Step 2, multiply the remaining numerators together and the remaining denominators together. So let's look at an example and I will break down each step so you can see how to do that. Okay, so here's the example. -3/4 times 2/5. So step 1 says to break down each number into its prime factors. Well, 3 is already a prime factor, 2 is a prime factor, and 5 is a prime factor. However, 4 I can break down into 2 times 2. So I'm going to rewrite this fraction being multiplied by my other fraction, but I'm going to rewrite it where my 4 is now 2 times 2. It's been broken down. And when I rewrite it, do not forget that negative, because I have a negative fraction times a positive fraction. So I want to make sure I don't forget that. Okay, so the rest of step 1 says to cancel pairs of identical factors in the numerator and denominator. Here in the numerator, I have a 3. I do not see a 3 in the denominator, so I'm going to leave that 3 there. I move over to my other numerator, and I have a 2. Well, I see that I have 2's in the denominator. So I'm going to cancel one of these 2's in the denominator, not both, one of them with the 2 in the numerator. It doesn't matter which one. I usually like to do the one on the very far left, so I'm going to go ahead and cancel those. Okay, and nothing else can cancel. So I'm going to move on to step 2. Multiply the remaining numerators together and the remaining denominators together. So I'm going to bring my fractions together by multiplying. Here I have 3 in the numerator, and there's always an invisible 1 because 3 is 3 times 1. So I can just 3 times 1 brings it together as 3. In my denominator, I have 2 times 5. Well, I know 2 times 5 is 10. And I also have my negative on the outside. I don't want to forget that. So a way that I make sure that I don't forget my negative in any of these numbers is I actually like to circle them. So I'm going to go ahead, circle them, and then I'm going to bring them together like I just told you. So I'm going to bring down the negative. I have 3 in the numerator, and then I'm going to multiply 2 times 5, which will give me 10. So my answer is -3/10. Okay, let's look at one more example. So here I have -9/12 times -10/15. I'm going to do the same thing I did for step 1 in the other problem is I am going to rewrite my fractions with their prime factors. So I kept the negative, and then 9 is 3 times 3, 12 is 2 times 2 times 3. I brought down the multiplication sign, and my second fraction has a negative. 10 is 2 times 5, and 15 is 3 times 5. Now I'm going to look at these two and say, what can I cancel? What's in the numerator that is also in the denominator that are pairs that I can cancel? I'm going to start with the negatives. Here I have a negative, and here I have a negative. I can cancel those negatives. I know a negative times a negative is positive, so I can go ahead and get rid of those. Now I'm going to move on to my 3's. Here I have a 3, and here I have a 3. I still have more 3's, so I can cancel this 3 and this 3. And then I see I have a 2 and a 2, and I'm left with a 5 and a 5, okay? So I canceled everything that I have pairs, identical pairs that are in the numerator and denominator. And like I stated in the first example, there's always an invisible 1 in the numerator. So please know that I have a factor of 1 in the numerator. It's not 0. If you cancel everything, I know you like to think there's nothing there, but there is. There is a 1. In the denominator, I have a 2. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put actually times 1 in the numerator so that I can see that I have that. And then I'm going to circle my 1 and I'm going to circle my 2. So I can see my numerator is 1, my denominator is 2. Therefore, my answer is 1/2. Okay, now let's recall how to convert a mixed number to an improper fraction. The reason why is because you are going to have some fractions that are multiplied together that involve mixed numbers. And so we need to know how to convert those to improper fractions. So here I have -3 2/5. I'm going to place my negative first. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to write my negative. And then when I convert it, I'm going to completely disregard the negative. Okay, I don't want to multiply 5 times -3. I'm going to disregard that negative. So I'm going to just look at 3 2/5, and I'm going to take the denominator. I'm going to multiply it by my integer, my big number here, and then I'm going to add it to my numerator. So 5 times 3 is 15, plus 2 will give me 17, and I keep the denominator. So I end up having 17 over 5. And again, it was -3 2/5, and that equals -17 over 5, or 17/5, okay? All right, let's go on to a problem. So it's your turn, number 1. Now, if you want to go ahead and pause the video, then end up coming back after you solve your problem and see if you got the same answer. So go ahead and click pause. Okay, so here I have -3/8 times 7/9. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to break them down. So I'm going to keep my negative. 3 is just 3. In my denominator, I have 8, which is 2 times 2 times 2. And then I have my multiplication, so times. Here 7 is just 7, and the 9 is 3 times 3. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to look at what can be canceled. So I have a 3 in the numerator, a 3 in the denominator. Well, nothing else cancels. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to circle everything that is left. It makes it so much easier so I can see what needs to be multiplied. Okay, so I'm going to keep my negative. Here I have 7 in the numerator. Now I'm going to multiply my denominators together. So I have 2 times 2 times 2 times 3. Well, I know 2 times 2 times 2 is 8, and 8 times 3 is 24. So I'm going to rewrite my denominator with 24. So my answer is -7 over 24. Okay, let's look at your turn, number 2. So again, you can pause the video right now. Okay, so in this problem, I see that I have a mixed number. So I'm going to want to change this mixed number to an improper fraction. So I'm going to keep my -5/6 times and then this negative, but I'm going to change 1 3/4. So what I'm going to do is do 4 times 1 plus 3. Well, 4 times 1 is 4, plus 3 is 7 over 4, because I keep the denominator. See, so I rewrote it, and so I have -5/6 times -7/4. Okay, now I can do step 1, which is breaking down to prime factors. So 5 can't break down. I can break down 6. I can't break down 7, but I can break down 4. So let's go ahead and rewrite that. So I have -5 over 2 times 3. I brought over my multiplication sign. -7 over 2 times 2. Okay, and I'm going to see if I have any factors that I can cancel. Well, I can cancel my negatives, so those are gone. A negative times a negative we know is positive. All right, now I have a 5 and a 7. I don't see any of those in the denominator, so what I'm going to do is go ahead and circle everything, and then I'm going to bring it all together. So my numerator is 5 times 7, that's 35. And then I'm going to do my denominator. 2 times 3, I know is 6, times 2 is 12, times 2 is 24. So here I have 35 over 24. Now this is an improper fraction. Now remember, I get an improper fraction when my numerator is greater than the denominator. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to convert it to a mixed number by dividing. I asked myself, how many times does 24 go into 35? Well, it goes in once, and I'll have a remainder 11 over 24. So my answer is 1 and 11 over 24. Okay, let's look at the last your turn. So this is your turn number 3. So if you need to, go ahead and pause the video. Okay, so here I have 2 mixed numbers. So I'm going to convert both of them to improper fractions. 7 times 5 plus 1. This is 35. Plus 1 is 36 over 7. So I'm going to write 36 over 7. I'm going to bring over the times, and then I'm going to convert this one as well. So I have a negative, but right now I'm going to do 9 times 2 is 18, plus 3 will give me 21 over 9. And then again, I got to remember that negative. So times negative 21 over 9. Okay, I can break down into prime factors. 36 is 2 times 2 times 3 times 3. All over 7, because 7 is prime, so I already have its prime factor, times, and I brought over the negative, 21 is 3 times 7, and 9 is 3 times 3. Okay, so everything is broken down. So I'm going to go ahead and look at what I can cancel. So I see a 3 here and a 3 there. I see another 3 here and another 3 there, and then I have my 7s. So those have canceled. So I'm going to go ahead and circle everything that's left. I have a 2, a 2, I have a negative, and a 3, okay? So my answer is going to be negative because I have a negative. I'm going to multiply 2 times 2 is 4, times 3 is 12. Now it's all over 1. Remember, there's an invisible 1, so I'm going to write negative 12 over 1, but I also know that 12 divided by 1 is 12. And I'm not going to forget that negative, so my answer is the same as negative 12. Okay, and that is it.